Alright, so hi there. Today is the 22nd of February, the first Sunday in our Lenten sojourn, and so I wish you a meaningful, life-changing Lenten season as you engage and you draw nearer to God during this time and season. Our parish's Lenten theme, the overarching theme for our Lenten sojourn this year, interrupting self to grow in Christ. And over the past few days, we have been sharing on the various ways in which God interrupts us to allow us to grow, to challenge our circumstances, to change our mindset and the likes of it. Today's readings present a wonderful type of interruption, and we will show how if we interrupt that a relationship with God rather, how things can just go haywire. I want to focus chiefly on the Old Testament reading for today that we had from Genesis chapter 2 verses 15 and 17 and then chapter 3 verses 1 to 7. Here we have the episode of Adam and Eve and their sinful nature and what happened thereafter. And so, because we know the story, we try to say, I know Adam, I know Eve, I know the story, blah, blah, blah. Right? But I want us to hold in mind, God said to them, look, don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. When Eve was speaking to the devil, the serpent, in chapter 3, she quoted what God said in a slightly different way. She said, God said, don't eat of that tree in the middle of the garden, and she made a reference saying that you should not even touch it. Don't even touch that tree in the middle of the garden. And so I tried to frame my reflection on the middle. Last day around this time was a wonderful soca song by Marshall, who was a speaker, and of course last year's carnival season, for those of you who participate in same, was a bit longer than this year. So last year, like now, we were still on the road, well, people were still on the road jamming towards the climax of the Monday and Tuesday debacle. But the point is, beloved in Christ, there was a song that Marshall sang, two drink in my hand and a girl in the middle. So we're not talking about that part. The other part of the song says, that is the ground we need to find, the middle, for the sake of peace of mind, the middle. And I quite thought that, as I was reflecting on today's message, that middle. Eve, when she went and she picked from that tree, when she interfered with that tree, that's when things began to fall apart. And so that tree represented for her the middle ground. The middle ground that was synonymous or symbolic of the relationship with God. And so the minute she interfered with that tree, things began to fall apart because she touched the center point. And colloquially we say when your mother dead, your pot cover bun. We also say that if in times and circumstances when we have a matriarch or a patriarch in a family, that in that instance, when that person dies or that person goes or whatever the case is, things begin to fall apart. There is sometimes confusion, there is sometimes fightings, infightings, and the likes of it, because the center point, the middle ground, the nucleus is interrupted. Our nucleus is our relationship with God. That's our middle ground. That's what Marshall says. I don't know if he had the same interpretation, but I am interpreting it in that light. That is the ground we need to find, the middle. That's the place we need to inculcate Christ, to enthrone our God, the middle, the midpoint, the nucleus of our lives, so that everything that we do and say, believe and practice will stem from that midpoint. It's almost like a carpenter going about with his spirit level. If your foundation is not leveled, everything you build thereafter will not be in the correct dimension or the correct shape. It will not be in the correct manner. It will be deformed in one way or the other. And so the challenge for us to consider, beloved in Christ, is that middle ground. That is the ground we need to find, and as he said, for the sake of peace of mind. When we interrupt the middle, as Eve did, things begin to fall apart. And so the challenging question for us today is, how is your middle point? In other words, how is your relationship with God? And further to which, have you interrupted your relationship with God? Have you shaken? Have you picked? Have you shelved? Have you even cut down the tree in your life that is in the middle of your garden that is representative of your relationship with God? That's when things will continue. That's why also things will continue to fall apart, to degrade, to disintegrate, to dissipate, and the likes of it. Things will never be the same if we move away from that middle point, that place where God has allowed us to be, where God has positioned us to be. And if we move away from if we move God from the nucleus, then something else becomes the nucleus, and that something else is not God, and it does not work on our behalf. And so as we use this song, not to dance and to wave, but to reflect. I love literature. And so when I look at these things, part of the best part of carnival for me, the lyrics. Some of them are lacking severely, but today here we have one where I can use to bring a message. That is the ground we need to find. In the middle, for the sake of peace of mind, in the middle, and he goes on. What is in the middle of your heart? It's Christ's center. There's a song that says, Jesus be the center of it all. Jesus be the center of it all, from beginning to the end. Nothing else matters, nothing in this world to me. Jesus be the center of it all. So the challenge for us today, well, let us not allow the devil to interrupt us. Because the minute the devil interrupts us, we give attention to the interruption, things will begin to fall apart. Because the devil always desires of us to lose that place, and desires of God in Christ to lose his place of prominence and primacy in our lives and in our hearts. So go this day, beloved in Christ, and center yourselves in Christ, and allow Christ to be the center of your life, every facet and every way. God bless you.